actually live. Okay. Let's just get that refreshed. Okay. Well, as you can see by the very title alone of this live stream, I'm not going to have too many people come into this. I mean, it's at the top as we speak. It's 12:14 a.m. on Saturday, April 23, 2016, and a few people have been asking what is my 2 cents on the whole situation or situations, considering these are multiple passings. First of all, I'll just get into my thoughts about Chyna, real name Joni Laura. I'm not going to get into the whole adult entertainment side of Joni's life, because Vince Russo has documented it enough, including the Skype call that he had broadcast, just so Chyna could give her side of the story. So I'm not here to do that. I will talk about what an amazing competitor that she was. This was a female athlete, 6 feet tall, probably close to the 200-pound mark. And I remember seeing back in the day, particularly just as the Attitude Era was really getting going, this is a woman that could, power slam and body slam men. Some required a little bit of effort, but most of the time, if Chyna wanted to body slam, say, someone like Triple H or Shawn Michaels, or, Steve Blackman was one who was one of the unlucky recipients of said slam. This was an athlete, because my perspective is she's an athlete first and female second. And the reason I want to say that is, listen to what it said in her song. Don't treat me like a woman. Don't treat me like a man. Just treat me for who I am. And all Chyna ever wanted to be treated as is equal. Now, as we all remember, when she first came in as Triple H's bodyguard, there wasn't any female athletes in the WWF at that time. She was just built like a tank, is probably the best use of words I could actually give. But then I think we all know that I think at some stage in the summer of '98, she ended up breaking her jaw and had to be fed food through straws, and she ended up losing 30 pounds of muscle. And in doing so, she actually developed a slightly more feminine figure, and she actually sort of looked and thought, I don't mind this so much. She's had great feuds. Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho. Jericho, I think she probably had some of her best matches with Y2J, considering they had written in the story that, because at the time, Chyna had become the first female athlete to win the Intercontinental Championship from Jeff Jarrett, who was on his way out. I think his contract was coming up at that time in '99, and he dropped the IC title to her in a Good Housekeeping match at No Mercy 99. And I think at the time, I remember Jericho saying on one of his DVDs he wasn't too thrilled about the idea of working with Chyna. I think he wasn't too thrilled about working with a woman, let alone Chyna. But the two matches that they had in their program, it's probably some of the best matches I've ever seen Chyna in. If you look at the 99 Survivor Series match, it's one where neither is compromising on their performance, because there's always this mentality in the WWE that these days men face men and women face women, which I suppose in the whole scope of things is not completely unreasonable. But Chyna wanted to be taken seriously as a competitor, and she worked hard for that Intercontinental title. And one of the most impressive things I've ever seen is Chyna giving Y2J a top rope pedigree, which I didn't think was possible. And then, of course, she became Jericho's bodyguard, which is like, yeah, we've seen this before with Triple H back in the day when it was pre-DX. So, yeah, this is nothing new nor special. And then, of course, there's the whole thing with, she was dating Triple H at the time, but then, of course, there was Triple H dating Stephanie McMahon behind the scenes. And I saw the Vince Russo interview where she kind of had the rug pulled out from underneath her. And for like the better part of the last, I don't know, 5-10 years or so, Stephanie has pretty much, from what I've read and understood, Stephanie has pretty much done everything to drag Chyna's name through the mud. And the day that it's announced that Chyna had passed away peacefully, you see on Stephanie's Twitter that she's saying, such a tragic loss, such a pioneer for the business. And I thought, you hypocrite. Her and Triple H had made peace. I'm not going to make any bones about that, because Chyna had said on her YouTube channel that she met Triple H up at Roddy Piper's funeral, and they kind of buried the hatchet based upon what I understood from what she said, and they just let it be. Granted, there was a lot of animosity based upon what had happened, but with the way she was let go from the company. But yeah, that's another thing for another time. This is a woman, I'm just gonna give my thoughts, what she meant to me as a fan. An image of power, agility, beauty, and a graceful woman. So far, the only woman to be Intercontinental and Women's Champion. I mean, the Women's Championship match against Ivory at WrestleMania 17. I just looked at how this was going to go down, with Chyna just sort of smiling. I'm like, she's smiling. She is representing us, because Ivory's. How to put this? If Chyna represented a tiger, Ivory represented a domestic cat. It just looked as like, yeah, this is already a foregone conclusion. And this was just 3 months removed from the relapse of her injury at the Royal Rumble 2001, which was her first challenge for the women's title. I remember vividly seeing that. She doing her her backflip elbow, and Ivory hadn't done anything. I think it was just something that just went wrong, and unfortunately left her incapacitated for some time. But she had a real sense of a spark. She was very bubbly. Um, Preferred her as a baby face because I think she was just so much more natural as such. Whereas as a heel, it's just like yeah, we've seen the sour faced female bad girls, in wrestling. It's like, it's not new, it's not fresh. It's just like, we just want to see you go out and compete. And, I'm one of those few people, at the height, of her popularity and her tenure in the WWE. I thought she was absolutely gorgeous. She was one of those women that could make a physically toned look powerful, but very attractive. Um, why Triple H chose Stephanie over Chyna, I will never know. But hey, we love who we love. You know, but for Chyna, I think Mick Foley said it best on his Facebook post. I really hope that she has found peace in death that she was not able to find in life, because I've said I'm not going to go into the whole adult entertainment side of her career, and I'm not going to do that. But the woman had been messed about with her exit from the company and the things she's had to do, because the lady had to pay bills, um, so I'm sad she's gone, but I hope for her sake that she's at peace now, because this is a woman that did not deserve the hand she had dealt against her for the last 15 years. This is a woman that deserves so much more, and she got so little out of it. So, yeah, one of my favorite wrestlers from back in the day. Um, I say this, um, as it was back then in the early 2000s and the late 90s. I mean, Chyna will never be one of my favorite wrestlers, say, in comparison with your Litas and your Trish Stratuses and Austin, who was my very reason for getting into pro wrestling as a fan. But I always admired what she stood for. She wanted to stake her own claim in the business, be able to do things her way, have her own look, and basically say, you say I can't do this, I just proved you wrong. So there. So yeah, um, sad she's gone, but I hope she's at peace. As for Prince going, no one saw that coming. I mean, it was like with Victoria Wood, um, the British comedian. No one even knew she had cancer. So with Prince, just appear with the news appearing on social media and the BBC's website saying, "Oh, music legend Prince is dead." I'm like, "Oh, come on, 2016. I think you've had enough." Um, I would never admit to being one of Prince's biggest fan, not because I disliked his work. I mean, there are a couple of numbers I didn't mind, such as some of the numbers that he did for the 1989 Tim Burton Batman movie, which 27 years later, still awesome. Just saying. Um, Scandalous, I think it was a great number. Just, which was used for the Joker in the parade scene as is getting into the third act of the movie. And one that I'm very partial with in regards to Prince is Could You Be the Most Beautiful Girl in the World? And, for a song that's very, it's on that borderline between early to mid 90s, it's one of those songs that it's timeless. In terms of the way that the video shot, there are an infinite number of ways you could actually shoot that video today. That's just my opinion. Your mileage may vary on that. But the way the song is, and the way that the lyrics are delivered, and the way they were written, you can get either, him to have re-released it today with different visuals, but the song will speak to so many people. Because there are some songs from back in the day that they work in any era. I mean, look at the Outrighteous Brothers with Unchained Melody. That works in any generation because it's such a sincere and touching love song. You look at, say, U2's I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. Well, has anybody found what they're looking for in life? I haven't. Have you? Comment section. If you have found what you're looking for, maybe you know something that we don't. George Michael with numbers like Fast Love or Older. I mean, that song, has relevance because people do go through changes as they go through life. And it's like I say, Could You Be the Most Beautiful Girl? It's, it's aged, amazingly well. And I'll never know how Prince was able to get to those high notes. I mean, I could try and sing like that back in the day, awfully, but I still tried to do, get to like top C of what he did. And, people are like petitioning around saying, could you please stop that? But an amazing artist. Very there's some people on Facebook saying he's not in the same league as Michael Jackson. Okay, first of all, who was? Michael Jackson was in a league of his own in his prime, and when he was slowly winding down, there was nobody that could come within 100 miles of the talent and caliber that Michael was. But via the same token, Prince was in his own league of talent, style, and just presence. The guy carried such a presence around him, based upon what little I've seen in interviews and music videos. I mean, I saw a clip from him of the Muppets where he supposedly made a song up on the go. And I'm like, if that is the case of the way that was done with him with his songwriting, then that's some quite exceptional talent. There's a little thing I noticed. I know I'm going back to Batman a second, but if you ever watch some of the music videos where you see him in the Batcave and you're seeing images coming supposedly from Gotham, and there's just this entourage of Batman dancers, and just the way that the sets are done, you can tell this is a guy that has his own specific vision of how he wants this done, how he wants this interpreted, and hopefully giving the vision and the visual to the audience that are watching on the TV or even on YouTube today. He has a very set mind of the way he wants to get this done. And he is an artist because WWE legend Chris Jericho says, quote, if you can create something from nothing, you are an artist. And Prince just had these. I like to think of him as Zack Snyder done right. Zack Snyder, for all he's done, he should just be an art director. End of. That's just my take on it. Your opinion may vary, but Prince just had these wonderful visuals that were very colorful. They were larger than life. I mean, you look at the way that Could You Be the Most Beautiful Girl was shot, with outfits to the sets to the use of materials it was in. There's like, you get it. He has something very specific in mind for that. And the guy's over the top and eccentric, which I can relate to because I'm a little out there, but I don't subscribe to normality because to me, normal is boring, bland, mundane, and overrated. You may disagree. That's cool. But this is the negative part, which I don't really want to get into. I mean, the man was 57 years young. What is that? If it was a case of the man made it to 94 years young, 5 months and 20 days, I'd say, okay. It's still sad, but the man has lived his life. 57? What is that? That's nothing. I mean, all right, the man wasn't a kid anymore, but he still had plenty left to give, whether professionally and personally. This was someone, today's generation could benefit so much from his knowledge, his experience, or how he could, tutor or mentor the next Prince or the next Michael Jackson, or heck, even possibly the next David Bowie. Whether there will be one, I don't know, because Bowie, again, he's another one that was in a league of his own. And 3 months on, that's still such a hard, a mind melt to wrap your brain around the fact that he's gone, because he was someone special. I'm not going to get too much into the whole thing with the Justin Bieber situation, where someone made the comment saying Prince was the last major talented music legend left, and apparently he said something, some offhanded, saying he's not the last one ever. And I'm like, dude, time and a place. The man just died. It's not the sort of thing you say. If you just said it's a tragic loss, he's irreplaceable, nobody would have any problems. But then again, this is Justin Bieber we're talking about, and that's a conversation that's been done to the point of exhaustion, and I'm not going to go there because that is not the place to do. But this has not been a good week. I've only just come on here, like I say, just for a brief period, just to talk candidly, say how I feel about two legends that have been taken way too soon. And, oh dear. I'm only just now. Oh, was it Bat Dance? A-Log, thanks. Arthur Anderson, oh dear. Only just now looking at the comment section. How you doing, by the way, guys? Yeah. It's been it's been a bit of a week. I I don't know. 2016 has not been a good year for the people. I'm doing just fine, Win. Despite all of the negativity that has been happening lately. You know, we lose Bowie, we lose Rickman. Uh, it's been difficult because there's been so many other very talented entertainers that we've lost this year already. 2014 is starting to look mild by comparison. Um, I have not actually had a chance to look at a log, but when I do, I will let you know and I will give you my 2 cents on the whole thing. But yeah, it's it's been a bad week. Been a bad week for the people. I made the you know Random and I made the point of yeah, yeah. I mean, last night, Random and I um, went and watched the first Tim Burton Batman movie because Prince had contributed a lot of material to that. And when you look back at that flick, it suited the style of Jack Nicholson's Joker. On a lighter note, Jack Nicholson turns 79 years young today. Wow, that's one to take in. And 27 years on, that movie is still amazing. Although it's a product of its time. When you hear Nicholson say "phone book," you think, "Whoa!" But you know, you listen to "Scandalous," which was used during the credits scene, just to kind of tender the moment. I don't know. And then you hear "Just" during the parade scene, as I just mentioned earlier, and it complements the Joker. And I don't know. Then, of course, there was that time he went and referred to himself as what I refer to as Taff Cap, which is the artist formerly known as Prince. Then apparently went back to just the artist, and then back to Prince. And then, of course, there was that one time where he was portrayed as being on Celebrity Deathmatch against Prince Charles, which I thought was amusing to some extent. This town needs an enema. Uh, this is something um, Random said. Um, I think he was sort of half serious, half joking. He sort of pictures the scenes like everyone's yeah. He was sort of like picturing setting up the scenes like everyone's sort of looking at Stanley and Samuel L. Jackson, and people are just going, "Don't you dare!" I don't know. Uh, Still looking. That's just the problem. Um, I go on to do these live streams, and just forget what's going on in the comment section. I'm like, "Oh, hey guys." Oh, yeah. If I remember correctly, a log. Charles was was doing his training, like fencing, boxing, and whatnot. Prince's training, however, was behind locked doors. Oh, oh, thanks, Win. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, yes, he did. I remember something someone said a while ago, and I think it's apt in the situation for both China and Prince. You never fully appreciate someone until they're gone. And China was most certainly not appreciated enough. Um, Stephanie putting out that tweet just confirmed what I'd already thought about her for some time. You know, this is a woman that, let's just call it for what it is. She's the WWE's version of Hillary Clinton. I can already see like a lot of people going, "Ooh," this is a woman who does more backpedaling than, I don't know, most people in TNA, which only could probably vouch for. I'm amazed that company's still afloat. You know, to run China down for so many years. Yeah, I do remember that. Oh, nasty. I remember bits and pieces of what one person did about the review of the She Hulk porn parody. And the guy said, who was reviewing it, I forget who, but the guy who was playing Bruce Banner actually made a good Bruce Banner. And from what little I did see of it, it's like, yeah, he did. Um, One thing that some people forget is in '99, China was being set up to take the title from Austin. But China didn't want to go that way. She wanted to be a bit more feminine. Um, and that's where you ended up with, you know, the title going to Mankind, and then Triple H wasn't the start of the reign of terror that we're so, you know, so infamous on the internet now, but it was one of those things where, what if? What if China had been given the belt? Could you imagine what that would have done for her career? Oh, may have to go find that in a little while. I mean, Stephanie almost became the first woman to hold the then World Wrestling Federation Championship, and which was also the undisputed title in 2002. But I think China would have been more convincing because let's not kid ourselves here. At 2002, Stephanie was a toothpick, and it's hard to tell where she's more annoying on the microphone now, because back then, nails on the chalkboard. Now these days, as Random said, Steph, you sound like you've been smoking them cigars a little bit. Yeah, might want to pull back. It's not good for you. Although I still laugh to this day where he did his Brock Lesnar cadet, and he just goes, "Hi, I'm Stephanie McMahon, and I'm taking you to SmackDown." I'm like, okay, that's disturbing. I'm not sleeping tonight. I don't know. um, since I'm pretty much. Oh, hang on. Win, don't do that. That's disturbing. Oh dear. I'm trying not to picture Rita Repulsa being, the word Rita Repulsa and sultry. Don't do that. That's just nasty. Uh, it's chill, girl. It's chill. Um, since I'm pretty much done talking on the subject, it probably was. Probably was Richie Calhoun. My inner smartass. I like that. I'm actually going to borrow that line. Um, for those that are listening, besides A-Log and Win, what are your favorite Prince songs, and by extension, music videos? Um, and for those that are listening that are wrestling fans, what was your favorite Chyna moment or match, setup, angle that she was part of? Yeah, so I noticed. As I mentioned, one of my favorite matches is Survivor Series 99. Um, Mainly because I felt that was such a well executed situation. And also, they were dealing with the backlash of Austin being ran over that same evening. And I love the whole Chyna and Eddie Guerrero situation. And, when that's also started, Mamacita. It was cheesy. It was a little bit over the top, but hey, I love both of those things. So, also A-Log, favorite in China's career? Yes, absolutely. Especially when she got it first time round at No Mercy 99, when she'd been screwed out of it, at Unforgiven 99, when the referees were going on strike. Yeah. Although this has to be said. I mean, and of course, one of those, A-Log, if you may recall, on that GTV segment, one of those hoes was Victoria. If you go back and, yes, absolutely, when she won the IC belt from Jarrett. Because if you remember Unforgiven 99, the referees were going on strike and saying, oh, we're taking too much abuse, and Austin on commentary for the six-pack challenge is like, so what else is new? I think it was a case of like one of the scalp referees had noticed something go on in the ring. Yep. Thank you, Win. Frosty Moore. That's terrible. That's terrible. Yeah, on it. This was one of the few times where they did the instant replay, and just to keep the belt on Jarrett just that little bit longer. Yeah. Mind you, that was actually a time when the wrestling business was just doing that little bit better. For a woman that had worked so hard to get away from the stereotype image that she was just the bodyguard for Triple H, or she was just the enforcer for DX, or by extension X-Pac, or with Billy Gunn. And she'd actually sort of broken out of the pack and actually said, you know what, I'm going to take this for myself. My only nitpick with her reigns as Intercontinental Champion, she never had it long enough to a point where I thought, okay, you can drop it now, or you can let the next person who needs it get that push. Because what people tend to forget, her second reign as Intercontinental Champion was when she was co-champions with Jericho. Because I think it was New Year's Eve '99 or just after New Year's Day in 2000. It was a rematch, and both of them pinned each other at the same time, but with two referees counting, and they decided, okay, you're co-champions, which then led to Royal Rumble 2000 with the triple threat for the undisputed Intercontinental Championship match between Jericho, Chyna, and Bob Holly. And Bob Holly wasn't exactly the most chivalrous of opponents. Apparently, anytime Chyna got in his line of sight, he just pushed her down to the side, which I thought classy. I've actually spoken to Bob Holly on Twitter once or twice. He seems like a straight up classy guy. Did ask him one question, because one of his main policy on Twitter is he may not get back to you straight away, but his aim is to get to answer every single tweet. And the question I asked him, what WWE superstar would you have most liked to work with? And his answer was Shawn Michaels. Which, when you think about it, Shawn Michaels versus Bob Holly, that'd have been an intriguing match. But no, they won't do that because that's a good idea. Yeah. And of course, there was the whole angle that they had with her and Miss Kitty. That kind of went nowhere after Royal Rumble 2000. Mainly because Jericho had Chyna as his bodyguard, and I'm like, oh goody, we're repeating. So Jericho has swapped out Curtis Hughes for Chyna. Well, there's one major upside. Chyna's much better looking. No disrespect to Curtis Hughes, but I think Chyna is better looking than Curtis Hughes. Oh dear. And of course that went and got deflated the night after WrestleMania, where Chyna screwed Jericho out of his only European Championship, which the night before, so far, is the only two full triple threat match for any title or any two titles, because as most people know, Kurt Angle, or Kirk Angel, as Jericho referred to Angle as. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Thanks. When Angle had both the Intercontinental and the European Championships, or the Eurocontinental title, they were trying to decide what title they were going to have up for grabs at WrestleMania that year. And they decided both titles, and Benoit had only just come in February as part of the Radicals, with him, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, and Perry Saturn, who is now a door maker. Make of that what you will. And also, little thing, WrestleMania 20 is not the first time Benoit became world champion. January 2000, Benoit actually won the WCW title, but it was annulled. And then I think he just sort of walked out of the company and thought, forget this. Yeah. Just thought, forget this, I'm going. And, I think they made the smart decision. And of course, Angle drops the Intercontinental title to Benoit, drops the European title to Jericho. Angle lost both belts without even being pinned. And of course, like I say, you go to the next night on Raw. Jericho loses it to Eddie Guerrero. And she says, I just couldn't resist your Latino heat. And of course, I think A-Log knows where I'm going with this in the lead up to Backlash, because they had a scenario set up with SA Rios teaming up with Guerrero, and of course Chyna and Lita, who was with SA Rios at the time. It ended up being like a case of just bad timing and miscommunication, which then led to a European title match at Backlash, which Guerrero retained, but Lita saw fit to strip Chyna of her evening gown, and, well, let's just say Jerry Lawler's eyeballs needed popping back into his eye sockets that night. It's probably not the place. Yeah. Yes, it was. It's probably not the place to say. But I felt, although Chyna was not as feminine looking as some of the other WWE women, because we do not like to use the word diva. Yeah. I remember looking at that incident. I'm looking at Chyna thinking, yes, quite an attractive lady. But she was living proof that you could be strong, but you could also look at her and think, like, can I give you my number? But yeah, the way that they broke them up, I don't know. I felt like they were a good thing together because Chyna was very no nonsense. Although there was a little bit of like I said, a little bit of a feminine touch whereas Eddie's just very cheeky, conniving, and of course that's probably where the whole lie, cheat, and steal thing started. Just for the record, I have never seen any of Chyna's sex tapes, and going further from this, I have no intention of watching them ever. Mainly because I want to remember Chyna the way I have remembered her up to this point, just being a powerful, strong, and beautiful athlete. That is the lasting memory I want to have ingrained in my mind about her. I have seen her Playboy pictorial. I'm not going to go and, be like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest pictorial I've ever seen in my life, or anything like that. All I'm just going to say is, hey, good for her. It's just, sad that she's gone, And on a slightly, I wouldn't want to say satirical note, but the one thing I don't want to remember from her career was when she had to deal with Right to Censor, and 16 years later, I still hate that group with a passion. I know it was meant to be the WWF's way of counteracting the censorship groups that say, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, just get rid of them. I never liked Stevie Richards in that role because I just felt, yeah, it didn't do him any favors. It just made him oh dear. Paul Buchanan, I can understand being in that role, because he didn't really have a. Yeah, ain't that the irony? If they had done that gimmick today, yeah. Paul Buchanan was better in that role because he hadn't found his niche yet. Yeah, that was JR. Funny thing, he goes and says that's a little bit too nerdy. And he says that today. Ooh, get your rear handed to you because nerds are a thing. Val Venus going that way. It's like, what was the point? You know, we want to remember Val Venus being like, "Hello, ladies," and Godfather becoming the good father. I'm like, that's just so contrived. You know? That's like making Stone Cold Steve Austin from a beer drinker to, ooh, a civilized tea drinker. I go to whoop the bottom. What? I'm just imagining Austin with a top hat and a monocle. It's just, see what I mean? It just looks so out of place. True. I can't remember anybody that didn't want to put RTC through the tables. Yeah, that's true. If putting people through tables is wrong, then I don't want to be right. And that was Bubba before he did the dancing gimmick. Ugh. No. Less we say about that, the better. Oh dear. I think I'm going to call it time here, guys. Mainly because, you know, over here in the UK it's 1:05 in the morning. Said what I needed to say because I know a couple of people on Twitter have been asking for my my viewpoint on this. Oh hey Ermac, the RTC were the first heels I tuned in to see get an ass kicking. Yeah. Of course, remember beforehand he was Stevie Ricardo and Stevie what else because he was like going for a personality crisis. Pardon me. But yeah, said what I needed to. I'm sad that both of them are gone, but we have this wonderful thing called YouTube. We can watch their matches, their music videos, anytime we want to. Yeah, like I hope so too. Win. Don't do these often enough. Out of character. Funny enough, that's what it should have been called. Yeah. Well, I shall do as the title of this live stream says. Prince, rest in peace. Thanks for the memories. You were taken way too soon. Chyna, I'm sad that you're gone. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for being that trailblazer for so many female competitors today. I mean, in some respects, you could argue Chyna paved the way for Victoria. I mean, Victoria's not the same size and stature as Chyna was, but that was one woman that you wouldn't knock her coffee over. You know, that was big, strong, and powerful. Loved it when she did her face gimmick. I just felt, you know, it was more fitting for her. I think one of my proudest moments as a fan of hers was when I saw her be triumphant at Mania 17 with the Women's Championship. Granted, it was a squash match, you know, let's just call it for what it is. Yes, the rocket launcher. And the only woman in the history of the WWF, because she left before it became WWE. She is the only woman to have entered the Royal Rumble twice, and the only woman to have entered King of the Ring. Now, I do know that Beth Phoenix has entered the Royal Rumble, but she did it once. Chyna did it twice, and Chyna was the first one to do it. I don't know if we'll ever see another athlete like her, because she is what they build her as, the ninth wonder of the world. And the only woman to be Intercontinental Champion. Yeah. Rest in peace, Chyna. Thank you. Thank you for all that you were. I'm just going to sign off from now. I wasn't expecting to get the audience that I got this evening, which is double what I normally get. Maybe I'm doing something right. Who knows? Thank you for your questions. Thank you for contributing. And yeah. Sucks when we lose people that we, admire them, at their talent and what they gave us, but we've always got the memories. So yeah, let's remember them fondly, and let's just keep it at that. Just remember the good times. This is MJ Knight of Dynamic Night Entertainment signing off, and as ever, good night from the night. Yeah, I think, let's not, hey, log, just for the sake of everyone that we hold near and dear in the entertainment industry, let's not give them ideas. Let's just not. Good night, folks, and thanks for joining. See you soon.